So personally, I have found that when you're just getting started out, if you can keep your focus on one thing instead of jumping around to a whole bunch of different things, you can at least test something out and figure out if it works or not. See a project through to completion and see how it works for you. See how it works for you in terms of earnings. And then you can really make some better decisions in terms of what you want to do next. I think that too many people kind of get wrapped up with trying out all these different things at once, and nothing really ever gets completed, and then they kind of chalk it all up to being a failure when in fact they may not have really given it a good go to begin with. Looks like we got a couple of new joiners here recently. If you guys have any questions for me, please feel free to ask at any time. Just type your question into the chat box, and even if I happen to be in the middle of answering somebody else's question, I'd be more than happy to get to you as soon as I can. Okay, that completely makes sense, Jay, with the coding being overwhelming. If you are brand new to it all, don't worry about the coding. If you can at all manage to do so, try to just learn the basic mechanics of it all first. And a lot of times you can opt for a simpler website design and avoid the coding to try to fancy things up a little bit. While it may look a little more appealing, you can actually have a completely plain black and white website with nothing but text and maybe a couple of pictures of some Amazon products, and it can do just fine. I think a lot of people will focus too much on putting a spectacular design on something that they create online, and while it certainly ends up looking great, it's not necessarily the best thing in terms of converting traffic into sales, simply because all of those visual aspects of your website, the more you have, the more of a distraction it is to what it is you actually want that person to be achieving on your site, which is to end up clicking on one of your Amazon ads and going and purchasing something. The same thing really kind of applies to videos. A lot of people, when they're trying to make some kind of product review video or something like that, they think they need to get really flashy with it. And in fact, videos are proven to be more effective if it's simply just black and white and maybe a little bit of red text for your main keywords and things that you might want to highlight. So you can just use a plain white screen with some black text on it and highlight some of your important words in red, and it would actually get better results in most cases over something that you had professionally designed and paid probably thousands of dollars to get done. So the same thing still applies with websites as well. So if you have things like coding or design aspects that are seeming a little bit overwhelming, just try to focus on the things that you feel like you can handle right now. So that way you are learning and not getting stuck and frustrated. And certain things like, the design really don't make that huge of a difference in the grand scheme of things. Now, the one exception to that with general testing, at least, if your audience knows you, then a flashier design can often convert better than a plain design. But if you're going off of cold traffic, which most Amazon affiliate websites are going to be doing, then a lot of times that plain design will end up converting better for you. Gina, she just joined and she is going through all the training. Is there somewhere in the training that goes over how to do backlinking to your site? Yes, Gina, there are likely numerous classes on the website that will address that type of thing for you. If you look in Azon Masterclass 1 or 2, the latter half or maybe third or so of the classes in each of those series will be on marketing tactics as opposed to the actual site building. And some of those are covering things like backlinking to your website. In general, though, the one recommendation that I have as far as backlinking goes is to try to do it in a natural, non-spamming kind of way. You don't want to be running out to every website you can possibly find just to try to get your link out there. You should be more interested in getting a quality link from a website that is relational to yours. Now, there are some larger, more general types of sites like a forum, for example, where you might be able to accomplish something like that. And then there are also more specialized niche websites, kind of like what you might want to be building. You would have to approach those smaller websites on more of an individual basis and be offering some kind of link exchange or possibly offering them some content that you actually write yourself in exchange for getting a link from that article that they post on their website back to your website. I specifically cover some tactics like that towards the end of Azon Masterclass 2. I will also be getting into some more marketing and backlinking tactics in Azon Masterclass 3. However, those are not currently posted on the site. As of right now, in Azon Masterclass 3, it's an active series that I'm currently working on, and that's basically up to the end of the site construction process. So the marketing lessons for that series will be coming up next over the course of the next couple of months or so. One other thing worth mentioning about hosting that typically comes up on a fairly regular basis. A lot of people, I think, try to skimp out on their web hosting. They might look at something and say, well, you know, HostGator has it for $10 a month, but I can get the same thing at this other company for $5 a month or something like that. Instead of focusing on the actual monthly cost of it, view it in terms of what can bring you the best performance for your money. Obviously, you could get better performance off of using something like a dedicated server where you wouldn't have to share your resources with other people, but unless you're running quite a few Amazon websites, you really can't justify the expense of a dedicated server. I have quite a few, and I don't even run a dedicated server for my Amazon sites, simply because they don't require that much in the way of resources, and a dedicated server, a halfway decent one, can run you $300 a month, if not more. So it's just not worth the expense when I can have 5 or 10 different shared hosting accounts that are only costing me $10 a month a piece, and I can put 20 to 30 websites on each of them. So you should really be focused more on the speed in terms of what you're paying compared to how fast your website's actually going to be, because that kind of thing can affect the actual results of your website. A slower website will end up getting lower search rankings than a faster website. Essentially, if you could build one website on a slow server and see how it pans out, and then go back in time and do it all again on a blazing fast server, the rankings that you got would be better the second time around on the blazing fast server. Simply because Google does look at things like your page load time when it is determining your ranking. Not to say that your site loading super fast would be the only thing that determines whether it's going to rank good or not. You still have to include everything else, but it can be a determining factor. If you have super slow hosting, if you go for the budget economy hosting that's only going to cost you a couple dollars a month just to try to save a little bit money, it can actually end up working against you because your site is simply slower to load. It might take twice as long as it would on a $10 a month hosting account. So besides going for typically a shared hosting plan, that would be my other main recommendation as far as web hosting goes. Just consider, you're probably going to get what you're paying for in most cases. Oh, you're quite welcome, Jay. So whether or not you would want to worry about mobile marketing could depend on what countries you're trying to target. If you're going for Asian countries especially are typically ones where your average person would be more likely to have a cell phone to get on the internet than they would a desktop computer. Whereas in the USA, it might be these days more or less even. Now with that said, I still would encourage, no matter what your goals may be, or no matter what market you might be trying to target, I would still encourage you to at least pull your own cell phone out of your pocket and try to pull up your website and see what it looks like on it. Simply to ensure that people that do want to visit your website on a cell phone are able to do so and can still navigate it as somebody would be intended to do so. However, if you want to get more in depth with it, my Weaver 2 theme training, there's a section in there on using the Weaver 2 theme. There's some features in it that can actually help make your website more mobile responsive in terms of if you're viewing on a screen that's only a portion of the normal size of the screen, it'll actually shrink down most of the content on your site to make it easier to view on a cell phone. But it's not necessarily a requirement to do that. I've completely ignored that type of thing on dozens of websites and had them do just fine for me. However, as the years begin to go on and devices get smaller and smaller and more common, you should at least be making sure that your website is usable at the very least through some of those other devices. And the Weaver 2 theme, again, is a good tool that you can use to get your website to look better in some of those devices. Typically, I just go for the responsive option where it just shrinks your page for you, but there are some other options that that particular theme can do to not shrink things down to where you can basically serve up different versions of your website to desktop users and mobile users, for example. Now, another part of me ignoring mobile marketing for a lot of years had to do with Amazon, actually. For a long time, they had a little sentence in their affiliate agreement that said you couldn't specifically target mobile users, and I believe there was something else that referred to serving up different versions for mobile users. I've always gone through the Amazon affiliate agreement to try to ensure that I don't do any potential things that could get me in trouble there. And that is one thing that had caught my eye years ago when I was getting started. However, I want to say it was a year to a year and a half ago maybe, they actually got rid of that particular clause and now allow affiliates to openly target the mobile market. So in regards of being an Amazon affiliate, it's certainly open to try to do things like that at this point in time. If you feel like you're targeting a particular niche that's going to be really heavy with mobile usage, maybe it is a younger demographic. If you're targeting perhaps the 18 to 30-year-old group, would be a lot more likely to have cell phones and would be a lot more likely to be using them to browse the internet, to purchase things through them, as opposed to using a desktop computer for an older demographic especially. Could perhaps be worthwhile, but in your general situation, I really wouldn't stress over it too much. Use the Weaver 2 responsive capabilities to help ensure that your site looks proper in mobile devices, and beyond that, I really wouldn't put too much thought into it unless you are in a market where there's a really good reason to do so. That's a good question as well, Jay. Jay is asking, can you set up your 90-day cookie plugin for squeeze pages or for email marketing, and do you use it? There are certainly some ways that you could use the 90-day cookie plugin. Extendazon, I believe you would be referring to, for squeeze pages. You would not want to use the on-site shopping cart. You would actually want to use the direct links that still utilize the 90-day cookie. So it would completely bypass the on-site cart and just go straight to the add to cart page on Amazon. With email marketing, that's kind of a little iffy. Really, with any email marketing, when you are doing Amazon affiliate links, you would want to put your link on a website and then promote your website with your email. So then your visitors will land on your website and you essentially pre-sell the product and then get them to click the link to proceed on to Amazon. That's another thing that they have in their affiliate agreement. You're not supposed to directly email market their affiliate links. However, you can use email marketing as long as you're using your own website as your landing page there. Kind of the same thing that I do for a YouTube video, for example. I'll have the video link up to my website, and then have my website link up to the Amazon product. Now, as far as me using Extend-Azon, it varies on a case-by-case basis, really. I do utilize it on a number of different websites. However, doing a lot of testing with that 90-day cookie, it's changing the way your affiliate link really works. And you have to consider that before you decide to use it. You can't just get blinded by the fact that it's going to increase your cookie from 1 day to 90 days. The really important part about it is, instead of somebody clicking your link and ending up on the product page on Amazon, where they would then look at the product and decide whether they want to buy it or not, you're forcing them into an immediate decision of whether they want to buy something, because it's going to put the message up on the page showing the product and the price of the product and asking if they want to add it to their shopping cart. So all of the work of pre-selling the product has to be done on your website. People have to know when they click on that link that they're going to be adding a product to their shopping cart, specifically on Amazon, because otherwise you end up kind of blinding them with what's happening when they click on that link. They're not expecting to land on a page on Amazon asking them to add a product to their shopping cart, so they just end up closing the page down or clicking on the no button. So if you do decide to use Extend-Azon, make sure you are doing the pre-selling yourself. Make sure people are aware of what's going to be happening when they click on that link. Otherwise, your results can actually be worse by trying to use the 90-day cookie, as opposed to just directing people along to the product page. So if you're going to use a blind link where you're not doing a lot of pre-selling, where you're not making it clear that they're going to be buying that product, then using just the standard Amazon affiliate links can actually end up working better for you. So in the case of my own websites, it is really just dependent on what my website is and how I'm trying to go about selling the products on it. There are some sites where I'm more about pre-selling the products, because that might be kind of what my website is centered around, as opposed to other websites that I do, especially the sites that I have built for the various Azon Masterclass series. I'm not really focusing on trying to heavily push the sales. I'm more interested in my content to try to attract traffic, which ultimately I would rather have a website with a lot of traffic and a smaller number of things that they could possibly buy than a website full of things that they can buy that only gets a little bit of traffic. So again, it's very, very situational, but it is important to make sure you're utilizing it correctly, or simply just don't use it at all. I have one little thing to add in that I have not made a note about. I believe a support ticket came in over the last week about it and thought I would mention it. With my Azon Masterclass 1 website, downcomforterguide.com, some people have asked about the exit page that I do on that. I have provided the training for accomplishing that exit page using a free plugin. However, fairly recently, I believe after one of the recent WordPress updates, that free plugin solution has at least partially broken in the Firefox browser from my tests. And so instead of trying to figure all that out and also to try to simplify that whole solution, because I actually really get awesome results from those exit page setups on my Amazon sites. In a lot of cases, they'll increase my sales by 30 to 50%. Sometimes they've even doubled sales on single websites. So I'm actually in the process of creating a new plugin that's going to accomplish that exit page solution, and will also simplify it in terms of putting the ads on those pages for you and even automating the advertisements. I'm still in the process of completing this, but it's actually about 95% done now, and something that I am shooting to be releasing at least to Team Azon Pro members sometime in the month of March. And so, at least for anybody that may have copied that tactic from my training in the past, or if you happen to run upon it currently until I can get that plugin released, at least know that that Firefox browser may not correctly work for that exit page, and that I am currently working on a more permanent solution that will also offer a lot more ease of use in terms of setting it up and having, the normal options that I like to try to put into my plugins. So you can do things like have a different exit page for different pages of your website. So you could even gear them towards a certain product that you might be promoting on a particular page. So it'll be not only designed to fix that pre-existing solution that I provided, but also to improve on it to make it even more powerful for you guys. So again, that's something I hope to be releasing in March, and all of you being Team Azon Pro members will receive free copies of that through the plugins page. But I'll be sure to make a news and email announcement about that, since it's something that I don't release every single month, obviously, in terms of a new WordPress plugin. They're a little too complicated to make a good one at least every month. That is a good question, Jay. Do I recommend getting keyword programs, or is Google Keyword Planner enough? Personally, I find Google Keyword Planner to be enough. I've done at least a couple of different classes on that. Early on in Azon Masterclass 1, for example, I show my Google Keyword Planner tactics that I use, and I personally use those. There's nothing else that I've held back or hidden from those tactics. I still use that kind of thing on a regular basis, pretty much every week. And I don't use the actual software. I just use Google Keyword Planner itself. Now, there are some circumstances where software could maybe be beneficial to you if you have some situations where you might have a lot of research to do, or you're looking for something very, very specific. Sometimes the software may be able to help you sift through or narrow down the results to reduce your workload there. But in a lot of cases, I've found that the software kind of leaves out some of the essential information that the Google Keyword Planner provides you with. And it's that omitted information that in the past has worked so well for me, and so I simply don't want to ignore it. Specifically, the trending information going from one month to the next that the Google Keyword Planner provides you with. A lot of times that information can get overlooked in the automated software, or it might be left out completely. Other times it's only looking at your general yearly average for each month for the traffic that that keyword would be receiving. But various seasonal niches and keyword phrases, and also things having to do with new products and new keyword phrases that just may not have existed before, but they're coming around and gaining popularity now. That kind of stuff that can be some of your biggest hits in terms of great traffic with really low competition, oftentimes will be completely missed in the automated software, which is, again, why I prefer to go with just the keyword planner itself. So I can pay attention to those things that your average user of the keyword research information, might be overlooking. And I find a lot of advantages in things that other people are generally overlooking.